The Postman. This is the movie that came out in 1997, directed by Kevin Costner, starring Kevin Costner, Will Patton, Lorenz Tate, and also Tom Petty. Big cameo from him. IMDb plot summary: a nameless drifter dons a postman's uniform and a bag of mail as he begins a quest to inspire hope to the survivors living in post-apocalyptic America. So this movie, for me, I mean, it's in terms of wild card, I mean, this is a giant flop, like commercially and box office wise and critically. Like this movie was maligned. It sort of kind of ended Kevin's golden period, if you want to call it. That was a lot of that late 80s, early 90s. But I, as a kid, rented this one day from the video store, not having really known about all the controversy surrounding this movie. And it really worked on me as a kid. And I saw it a couple times, like as a teenager, and always thought, yeah, it's like a little cheesy, but it's still the emotional beats and what it's trying to do and inspiring in America and the postal service and all this kind of stuff. It just worked on me. So it was like, okay, I want to talk about this. I'm going to come back to it. I haven't seen it in like 20 years probably at this point, and see like what, now having known all of the backstory and the behind the scenes and how derailed his career for a very long time, like, how would it sit with me? And it still works on a certain level for me, honestly.
Oh my
I get caught up in it. I get it is long, but I don't know, it's like that super cheesy schmaltz of, we're gonna make a movie about, and again, I love post people and the US Postal Service is great, but it's like it comes across as silly. It's like, okay, our heroes are the people delivering the mail, and it's that moment where he finds, because he's not a mailman, he finds like a dead mailman in a truck, and then he sort of puts on the outfit, like, Batman sort of suiting up. And I'm like, yeah, the postman. Like, I don't know. It works for me in the scene when, he's the little kid is like waving the letter, and Kevin comes back on the horse and grabs the letter, and he's like, I'm delivering the mail. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It's not perfect. I can definitely see more of its flaws now as an older adult, but I see what he was going for. I think, again, it's that, what does America mean and what does America stand for? And that is a lot of what this movie's about. And it's using the Postal Service, which is a apolitical bureaucracy of the government, delivers a service. Everyone, likes the Postal Service. And, it is that sort of middle of the road. Okay, what America can do if we come together, we can deliver mail to different parts of this country because it is so big and so vast. And I don't know. It works for me. You loved it too, I'm assuming. I mean, everyone loves The Postman, right?
The movie or the person?
What, that's not the same answer that you're gonna give for both?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is where I think the cheese went bad. It's too much. It's sort of, if Horizon is one thing, like this really feels even more of a kind of vanity project,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it just so schmaltzy, and he's in every frame like you mentioned before, and just the concept of it itself is just too far reaching. I mean, I get what he's trying to do, but then
Mhm.
the fact that there are women out there who just want to make a baby with this postman,
Kevin
and
Costner.
exactly,
Look at him.
give me a letter, get a baby, great. It's just too much. Now the movie looks great. I have to say that about all Kevin Costner movies, is that Waterworld or this one or Horizon, he obviously has a great eye. There's no question about that. The movie looks great, but overall it just doesn't come true, and I'm never going to watch this again.
I'm not surprised. I mean,
Yeah.
it's 3 hours. It's not an easy sort of
No.
afternoon thing. I mean, yeah, like for me on this rewatch, and I'm not someone who likes post-apocalyptic movies normally. It's never really interesting to me
That's
about
my
what
other thing
happens
too. I just
after.
don't. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not my genre, but this feels to me more like just a typical Western of, a
True.
guy, kind of a man with no name, coming into town, and how is he uniting the town against evil fascist army who's, trying to push like America in a different direction. I do also like, as cheesy as it is, to the end where like they're building up this big battle between the postman fans and then this fascist army, and they decide, Kevin and the leader of that army, well, let's just fight one on one, and whoever wins just wins, and we don't have to get everyone else into to a fight. I don't know. That still kind of works for me, but the ending just really doesn't at all, where like they flash forward and now all of a sudden everything is back and society's all right again, and they're like
Right.
unveiling this statue to Kevin Costner. I'm like, okay, wait,
Oh
what?
my
Like,
gosh.
the world's just better? Like, it was literally like there was no anything in this entire movie for like decades, and now all of a sudden Kevin Costner being the postman, we just go back to what it was like in 1997, but now it's like, 2060 or whatever. Like that just did not work and it went on way too long. There was like a whole 10-minute thing with there. I'm just like, okay, like this is a bridge too far for me in terms of the cheese. But the other stuff to me, again, we're around the postman and delivering the mail and I don't know, connecting people. It's cheesy, but it for some reason that works, but it does go too far for me. So
Yeah, I mean the whole statue and such. I mean, if that's not self-aggrandization,
yeah.
then what is? Like you made this movie and you basically have your own statue. I wonder if the statue is in his house somewhere. Probably.
We should check on eBay. I think at this point he might be selling it to fund Horizon 3.
Yeah, probably.
So,
Although I don't know who's gonna buy that.
all the Postman fans out
That's
there.
true. But you have to pay in letters.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah. I also say too, like I mentioned at the outset, I just like the Tom Petty cameo, which is like so random, and that he's
Yeah.
playing like himself. He's playing Tom Petty in a post-apocalyptic society. That I'm like, okay, cool. If the world ends, but Tom Petty is still around, even though sadly he's not anymore.
Right.
Maybe that's why we're in such a hellhole that we are. There's no hope anymore because Tom Petty's not with us. But that to me always makes me smile. I'm like, okay, cool. Tom Petty. Oh, you were famous once. It's like, yep, I was. I'm like, oh, cool. I don't know. That still works, even though it is cheesy. So yeah, this is a movie I would not recommend to people necessarily, other than just like a curio. I think to your point, this is a vanity project, and he did overextend himself in terms of what he could do as a filmmaker, but more so as like a persona. I think this did lean too much into the cheese, and coming more in the late 90s as we were, post Pulp Fiction, where everything starts turning into like this sort of Tarantino type of like quippy and referential and nothing serious type of film, being what is quote unquote cool, and no longer, the guy in the cornfield hearing voices and caring about baseball. Like that kind of went out of vogue. So I think he was kind of, the timing wasn't great on this, but also I don't think in 100 years people are going to be like, oh, the Postman's actually now good. I don't.
No.
I don't think it'll come around on it, but it is an interesting curio. And yeah, I probably won't see, maybe I'll watch it again in like 10 years. Oh, another thing too that was interesting about this one, I'll just note again, like there's a scene where he shows the Sound of Music and is referencing these older, the Sound of Music, bringing all the people together, even though they're fighting in these barbarians in this post-apocalyptic society. No, everyone loves the Sound of Music, and I think that again is an homage to these older epics as he's doing this new epic film, harkening back to those other older Hollywood films. That was again something that stood out to me on these rewatches, how much he was referencing these older films, which is cool. I always like that. The tip of the hat to Sound of Music, which is a film I love.
Although in this movie, because this movie just doesn't work, like that tip of the hat just feels super self-aware.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, oh yeah, I'm just walking around and there you are with your letterboxed mic of like 4 favorites or whatever, and I have my answers ready for you right there.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of that, but that's only because the movie just doesn't work.
Right. Hi there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I review a new release and then discuss 6 other movies made by that film's actor or director and how they shaped us. Subscribe right now or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.